Hello from your favorite Grasslands PR team. Today we are back, and we've got another reason why these overlooked and underappreciated ecosystems are objectively the best biome. I'm Rachel.
I'm Allan.
And I'm Nicole. And this season, we're switching up the format just a smidge and incorporating a short section of current grassland news in each episode. This can look like conservation action, new research, or maybe legislative issues that need attention. We'll keep them short and light where we can, and the usual in-depth breakdown of some animal, ecosystem, or other grassland tidbit will still be included. So think of it more as bonus content rather than a change to the show as a whole. And we hope you like it.
Yeah. What are we talking about first?
First, I will start us out here with a highlight of a very special bird that is extremely precious to us. And it's facing some conservation challenges here in Kansas and across the Great Plains. We've talked about them before. You know them, you love them. The Lesser Prairie Chicken.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Or should I say, I'm so sorry.
I'm not sorry.
No,
that was
great.
that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I miss it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. These little birds perform each spring on competitive dancing grounds known as leks to impress other chickens and try to win a mate. For those not familiar, there are actually two species of chickens, greater prairie chickens and lesser prairie chickens. The easiest way to tell them apart was by their calls, as Rachel beautifully demonstrated, because that's not getting cut.
I don't think that was the best interpretation of how to tell them apart or anything.
You know, I could tell that was a lesser and not a greater, who do a lot of booming noises versus the lessers making a lot of like just weird chickeny noises and water drop calls. Thank you.
Thank you. And then the greater prairie chickens go, woo doo doo. Woo doo doo.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really spot on. Yeah.
And they all kind of go, and then they bash each other with wings
And then
or
lots of
stare.
tippy-tappies.
Tippy tappies with their little toes.
Oh,
Yeah.
And you can hear it.
Yes, you can hear their little stomps. It's really incredible. Here in Kansas, we do have both species, and their ranges overlap quite a bit, making our state one of the best places to see them. Conservation-wise, the lesser prairie chicken has struggled for a long time to keep a foothold on the prairie and has gained and lost protection multiple times. Most recently, on February 26, 2026, the Fish and Wildlife Service officially published the delisting of the lesser prairie chicken under the Endangered Species Act. This is the second time they have been listed and delisted, and I'll just post a link in the description if you want to read more on that. It is interesting, and they have a lot of really good data on like their conservation journey, but also just background information on chickens in general. Worth a read. But for this story today, we really wanted to focus on some interviews that we performed. The first one was with Dr. Jackie Augustine, who is the executive director of Audubon of Kansas. And we wanted to hear a little bit more about her perspective as a leader in conservation who has worked closely with prairie chickens in particular. And she offered a lot of great insight into the conservation challenges for prairie chickens, one of the hardest of which is really just how much space they need. Jackie broke down that the habitat needs for them is complicated but very well known, which is a good thing. For a healthy population, about 50,000 acres of habitat is needed, which allows multiple leks to exist near each other. Though many males will display on a lek together at the same time, there's really only a few that are like winning mates, and so multiple leks are necessary to have a lot of genetic diversity and have that healthy population.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 50,000 acres. It's one of those things where it's like a lot of people have no concept of how big that is.
Yes.
Yeah, wait, how big is that?
I can't help you.
Oh, no.
Here's what I do know.
Yes.
1 square mile
Yes.
is 640 acres. So that's a lot of square miles. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
That would be like so the size of like a Kansas, like one of our counties here in Kansas, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that also seems like the space requirement, a pretty common theme among grassland animals, because part of, this evolutionary condition that they evolved under was having these large expanses of usable habitat. And I mean, we know for so many species that even just fragmenting it, like putting a road through it or like putting in agricultural lots in between that space, it makes it less usable for those species. Like they need landscape scale, large scale conservation.
Yes, absolutely. And here is a quote from Jackie where she describes more in depth their habitat needs and their nesting habits as well.
It's in their name. Prairie chickens like prairie. So the more of it, the better. I think it's really surprising that when you sit down and look at where they place their nests, lesser prairie chickens do not place their nests within a half a mile of a road or within a mile of a house. Prairie chickens are considered an umbrella species because they need the short grass for displaying, they need the tall grass for nesting, and they need intermediately grazed grass for raising their broods because those little chicks have to walk between the grass but then have cover if a predator comes by.
Yeah, they're very, very picky birds. They have a lot of needs.
Yeah.
Well, we say they have a lot of needs. They really just need a ecologically functional prairie.
Yeah.
That's it. But I mean, that's with, kind of our new normals of how a lot of our space is, particularly in Western Kansas, works. That can kind of be hard to come by.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is unfortunately a big ask
Yeah.
to have a functional and ecologically functional grassland. And that,
Yes.
I think, is why so many conservationists and environmentalists and ranchers and other people who want grassland are concerned about it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
If the chickens can't live on the prairie, there's something very wrong.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And that term umbrella species that Jackie used really hones in on that. They're not, at least to my knowledge, not really considered a keystone species. Like you think of a prairie dog being a keystone species where animals directly rely on them. A prairie chicken is an umbrella species because they're kind of like that indicator species. And if they can survive, then other things can survive underneath them. So you look at the habitat-wide protections, you look at, more big picture stuff with them because they are that umbrella species, and protecting them protects others because of that, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. And I think it's really because they use so many different niches. That's a really important component of why they are an umbrella species.
Yeah.
Like if you're a grassland species that specializes in tall grass, or if you specialize in short grass, the prairie chicken will protect you. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Hang on.
No, I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. The prairie chicken being able to use the habitat means that a very wide diversity of other specialized animals can also use that habitat, no matter if they're tall grass specialists or short grass specialists, et cetera.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another factor of habitat that is really important for prairie chickens is that they really need areas without tall structures, whether natural or human-made. Trees are a no-go because they hide predators like hawks, but also things like skunks and raccoons, which will go after nests. And it's not just houses and roads that are avoided, but also structures like oil drills, wind turbines, power lines, all those things. Jackie mentioned a study where there was a prairie chicken tracked by GPS, and it walked right up to a high power transmission line and turned and walked away. These structures are relatively skinny. They're not like a house size, and you can see right through them. They're not obstructing vision really, hardly at all. But they still avoid them.
Yeah. Well, for good reason. I mean, how often it's not uncommon to see, vultures and other things sunning on those big transmission lines. So they do. It's, I'd be wary of it too if I were just a little chicken.
I've seen prairie falcons on cell towers, even if it's a big transparent structure, yeah.
Yeah.
Jackie did warn that the last time prairie chickens were delisted, she personally saw leks disappear. Power lines pushed out some, and another lek was broken up by an oil drill that was installed a couple 100 feet away. So it wasn't even a distance that some people might consider close, but it was close enough that lek disappeared. But despite these concerns, Jackie says she still has hope.
I do have hope because we know what they need. They need grass. And so that's half the battle. And there's a lot of good people and organizations looking at how they can make it happen. So I have hope, but we have to take action now.
Yeah. I mean, she is an expert. I mean, she's worked her career with prairie chickens. She's an expert on this matter. It's encouraging to me to hear that she has hope, in spite of all the setbacks that we repeatedly face with this particular species. That is, I think, that's certainly a bright spot. If someone who really knows what they're talking about can be hopeful, then we can too. Did she give us any what in terms of what can we do?
Yes, and I will get to that here in a second.
Okay.
I want to finish up a cool story that she had, and then also talk about another interview that we did. But yeah, we know we can have hope because we know that conservation works with these birds. They are fairly fragile. They need a lot. But they can bounce back. Programs like the Conservation Reserve Program, CRP, you'll hear that a lot in the next couple minutes, have historically actually been very effective in conserving them. So effective, in fact, and I didn't know this, that the Western Kansas subpopulation is actually known as the shortgrass/CRP population. Chickens were non-existent in the state for a long time until 30 years ago when CRP gained traction in Kansas. And we also asked Jackie, every conservationist's, just absolute favorite question as far as why should we conserve prairie chickens? And she really had a 3-part answer. 1, there is money in chickens from actions like ecotourism and paid conservation efforts for landowners. 2, healthy chickens mean healthy grassland. One landowner told Jackie, "I don't raise cattle, I raise grass." And the prairie chickens and cattle are byproducts of healthy grass and healthy food. And the 3rd reason she gave is that of an ethical right to exist, that chickens are great at being chickens, and that's all they need to do to deserve our respect. Obviously, that can be a hard sell for some, but it's a good one to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Our second interview that we did was with Stacy Hoeme, who is a rancher in western Kansas and co-leader of the Lesser Prairie Chicken Landowner Alliance. This alliance aims to establish 10 200,000-acre ranching strongholds across the Great Plains, specifically for prairie chickens. These large-scale strongholds will help ranchers preserve their way of life, conserve water by improving soil and lowering water runoff, and ultimately, they hoped that within 15 years of their founding just last year, the prairie chicken would be removed permanently from the Endangered Species Act. In just that first year, they actually already have 100,000 acres of land conserved, which is pretty dang impressive. And I really like that, part of their goals is, hey, we're helping ranchers, we're helping the land. We don't want chickens listed. And that should be every conservationist's end goal is we don't want these animals listed. We don't want them to need protections. But I like that they're very explicit about it. But Stacy agreed in the interview with a lot of what Jackie shared, that chickens need space, they need healthy grasslands, and emphasized that preserving chickens means preserving ranchers. He also warned that he noticed the effects of drought on the birds just this month. He said, quote, "It's acting like a very dry year here already. Hens are showing up at the leks when they shouldn't be here yet." He also spoke to nearby population changes, and I'll let him tell that in his own words.
We used to have a greater lek right on top of a hill, probably 3,000 acres of CRP north of us. A lot of grassland CRP. And that has slowly just disappeared. Most of that's all gone. There's 600 or 800 acres in that area right now, but most of all that grass is gone now. It's all ag. And those numbers of graders have disappeared. That's a lek I call Ghost Town because they'd be there sometimes and they wouldn't be there, and they were all graders, and now there's just nothing there. I mean, I drove over it the other day and there was one bird sitting up on top. On our acreage right now, we got 8 leks on it on 9,000 acres. So about every 1.5 miles, 2 miles, there's a lek somewhere.
It's really nice to be able to hear from a landowner themselves some of the things that they're seeing around them, both, stories of loss and stories of success. And Stacy told us that ranching right now is extremely hard and really very rarely profitable. I'll let him speak to this in his own words as well.
Ranching's really hard. My old saying was the only time you ever made money on the ranch is when you sold the son of a bitch or when you die, and then the kids get to sell it, and that's the only time you used to make money.
I love Stacy.
Problem is, a lot of the CRP grassland is starting to disappear. A lot of people are breaking that back out. We're starting to farm fence row to fence row. I'm a farmer too, besides ranching. And some of the programs aren't literally what they have been. And so they're not putting a bunch of money back into the CRP program. And so, price per acre, we could lease out ground for what they're talking about paying us for that side of it, and which is a sad situation.
So, yeah, something we've talked about multiple times on the podcast before. Yes, CRP can be very powerful, but it's also not very profitable for the farmers themselves. They can make more money selling the land or using it for ag or, leasing it for an oil drill a lot of the time. So it makes it extremely, extremely difficult. But Stacy did say people are still interested in preserving them. He said, if we can hold on to them, we'll hold on to them. He spoke to the chicken's resiliency after a storm that hit his ranch 3 years ago and killed a lot of the birds. The population had been at about 110 and now is climbing back and at about 80 birds. He also spoke about an oil rig going onto a property where previously prairie chicken surveys had taken place. After the rig was removed, the only evidence that chickens had been there was a T-post left by the surveyors marking a lek. It stayed empty for 8 years, but now the chickens are back.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the CRP being unprofitable isn't a matter of ranchers not doing enough to make it profitable. That's by design in the law. The law is written so that legally it cannot pay even an equal amount to other market values. It is capped at a percentage of the market value of other uses for the land. So by design, according to the law, it can never even make it as profitable as any other use of land.
Yes, and there are nonprofits that are kind of stepping up to fill that need. The North American Grouse Partnership, which hosts the Lesser Prairie Chicken Landowner Alliance that Stacy is a part of, put the situation succinctly in a statement after the listing. They do pay a fair market wage for people to be a part of this alliance, but I thought this statement was really good. Grasslands are the most threatened ecosystem on the continent and in the world, as are the wildlife species found there, and none more so than the lesser prairie chicken, which have consistently been found since 1998 as warranting listing under the ESA. The other threatened component of grasslands are ranchers, with 40% fewer livestock producers today than late last century. We lose an astonishing 2 million acres of grasslands every single year. The main threat to grasslands is economic. 95% of remaining lesser prairie chicken habitat in the southwestern Great Plains is on privately owned working rangelands. Ranching pays less than any other form of land use, so grasslands are often overgrazed or converted to more lucrative uses that don't support wildlife. The ever-changing legal status of lesser prairie chicken under the ESA sometimes helps slow land use conversion, but it won't stop or reverse grassland losses, which is what's needed now. And I want to end on a good note here. Allan, you asked for some action items, and I have a few that are actually very timely right now. As always, it's really important to keep yourself knowledgeable and share that information with others. It never feels super powerful, but letting your legislative, all of your representatives know that you support protections in your state can also be really powerful. Being specific, I want prairie chickens in here. I want them around me if they live where you live. For Kansas, on April 9th, the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks commissioners will be meeting in Topeka. This is a great opportunity to show up and keep up to date on conservation in the state and have your voice heard as well. And there is a virtual meeting option if you're not able to go to Topeka. That's a big ask too, I know. Show support for legislative actions like the Farm Bill and the Endangered Species Act. They're both very important right now. And finally, Fish and Wildlife Service is looking for comments on the ruling, which just took place. And comments are open until March 30th. We did ask Jackie, what kind of comments can be helpful for something like that. And she said, truly any comment is worth leaving. Just show your support. Say, especially if you can give personal stories or personal observations, or you're a scientist working on chickens. Those first-hand accounts are very powerful. And specifically, they're really looking for any changes in activity, population, or habitat range since 2022, because that recent data is really what's needed. But I will leave you with another quote from Jackie, talking about the experience of seeing prairie chickens from within a pop-up blind. This is an experience which she and the Audubon of Kansas offers to the public during the Kansas Lek Treks. And something that we've helped with for the last few years. These guys, you can really only see them from mid-March to mid-May, so you got to work to find them. They're only active for about 30 minutes before sunrise and leave about 2 hours later. But here's Jackie.
The process of going to see them is amazing. Getting up in the black of dark and going to these areas where there's no lights and the sky is brilliant, and you get into this little blind and things are turning from black to gray, and you see these shapes moving and you hear the sound, and it's eerie and exciting, and then the sun rises and these birds are 100, 200 feet in front of you, and they don't care that you're there. You just feel like you're witnessing something that very few people see. For me, when I look at a lesser prairie chicken, I know that I'm looking at the high quality habitat, that I'm in one of the last wild places in the Great Plains. And for me, that's reason enough to protect them.
Yeah. You can really hear just in her voice how passionate she is about this. And we really appreciate the work that people like Jackie and Stacy are doing. It's like there is, like they said, there is a solution to this. We know these animals can be resilient if you give them the chance.
Yes. You
just have to support the habitat and the people who are, work as the stewards of that land. This is not like, oh, what do we do? It's like,
we know the solution.
Yeah, there's an answer.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And accomplishing those things has a lot of avenues for what it could look like. There's tons of different options we could choose to support those things. The thing that we can't choose is putting something up and then knocking it back down immediately. And then, we just have to be consistent, and we have to pick something and we have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And by we, I mean legislators.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys.
Yeah. God.
But, yeah. No, yeah. There's some, legislative things need to change legislatively, and not just the ESA, but I mean, like you were talking about the Farm Bill and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cause it is such an outdated perspective. When people are doing that, CRP or just managing the land to be healthy habitat, that's providing all these other ecosystem services that have a market value to the rest of everybody living in that area, but they're not compensated for it in any way. And there's a lot of things that have to change, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, I think we should start a campaign to make lesser prairie chickens our state bird instead of meadowlarks. Because then it's like, well, let's see, try and get rid of them now, Yeah. And there's 8 other states that have meadowlarks. Meadowlarks are great. Yeah. It might not be 8, but there's a
lot.
There's a lot.
Including some that I'd never seen a meadowlark in, but that's okay.
I see you're wearing your chicken hoodie. You're wearing your meadowlark shirt.
You know what's underneath this?
Yeah.
More chickens.
More chickens.
Hell yeah, buddy.
My chicken shirts are dirty because I wear them so often.
Yeah, I washed these specifically for today.
Nice. I am really excited for Electrex.
Oh
yeah.
What a
so
fun thing.
Yeah.
And they really don't care that you're there.
It's wild that they don't.
They're so focused.
You know, like the first time I remember doing it, I was like, okay, everybody, we have to be so quiet. Don't disturb the birds. Like, keep your Velcro locked down. But like once, that's really only true for like 10 minutes, I feel like. Because once they really get going, I mean, I had somebody was snoring like loudly from a tent next door on one of your leks. And the birds just did not care.
Yeah.
No.
I think a bird hit somebody's tent one time.
Yeah.
Like just like ran into it flying.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, no, I've had a guy like full force sneeze, you know, in a totally quiet, totally silent cow pasture.
Yeah.
Birds don't care. Just they're locked in.
Yeah. What a absolutely terrific experience.
And it's terrific for everybody. Like the same type of reaction from people who come from outside of our country to witness it as people who visited from the county next door just to see what it was about. And, you know, I've had both of those groups of people and everyone is equally enchanted. And I think that that's really beautiful too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. You should go find a similar event if you're in the Great Plains in April or, you know, May, and you should do that sometime. Maybe put that on your bucket list.
Yeah. Jackie did say that Oklahoma used to have a chicken festival, but they ran out of chickens, so then we stole the thunder. Now our chicken festival is the best chicken festival, I think. I didn't look into other chicken festivals, but
Typical Oklahoma.
Typical Oklahoma
Worst
dropping the ball.
state in the nation. Really terrible legal team that works.
Oof. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Nicole.
You're so welcome.
Thank you, Nicole, for that wonderful overview and highlighting the work that people are doing to conserve those species. Well, I am the one who's going to be doing our deep dive portion of this episode. And we are going to stay kind of in a little bit the same lane that we were just in with talking about conservation and
Chickens?
agriculture, but we're not going to be talking about chickens.
Okay. Oh, prairie dogs.
No. Let me get there.
Let him cook.
First, let me start, of course, by wishing you both a very happy International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists.
Ooh, yes.
2026.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A very merry International Year of Grasslands and Pastoralists to you as well, Allan.
Thank you. What did you get me?
Friendship.
Oh,
I said it first.
I got you a snack drawer refill upstairs.
oh, that's good.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff in there.
That's a good snack drawer up there. Yeah.
It's full of grains.
Oh, from the pastures and the,
Yes,
and the range
and the
lands.
Oh, that's very on brand. Perfect. Well, for those of you who don't know, 2026 is the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralism, which is a long thing to say, but it's important. Okay, this is an initiative started by the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, to recognize how vitally important both rangelands and the people who work as the stewards of those landscapes are, just like we were just talking about.
Yeah. Wow, what a useful and necessary thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're not familiar with those two terms, rangelands and pastoralism, let's go ahead and define them real quick. Rangelands are, well, why don't you, one of you give me a definition of what you think a rangeland is?
I want to do the other one.
Okay, Nicole, you're in the hot seat.
Rachel was bouncing up and down as you said pastoralist, so I will take rangeland. Because I guess I didn't define it once when I was talking about it, but that's okay. This is going to be land that is being actively used for, at least in the U.S., it's going to be typically raising cattle, but it can be sheep or whatever. It's being used, but in general is also going to be in a semi-natural state, so it can still also be used by wildlife. So
yeah, I mean that you pretty much nailed it there. Rangeland differs from grassland. And rangeland is more of an all-inclusive kind of umbrella term for, like you said, any uncultivated land that's predominant use is grazing, either domestic or wild animals. So that could look like, a broad diversity of habitats. It might be an alpine meadow. It might be a high desert. It might be a savanna. It might be a prairie. Rangelands cover a lot, and they're actually, by proportion, the largest percentage of ground cover on the planet.
Whoa.
So 50% of the planet constitutes rangeland under that definition.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's a lot. That's a lot of
Half of the land on the planet.
yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
Rachel, would you tell me what a pastoralist is?
I would be so happy to. Pastoralism is a really cool method of land use that is communal grazing, where essentially you, like, as a community, just throw all your livestock out into one communal grazing system, which is a great way to mimic more natural states of grassland use by grazers. And usually, eventually, you like gather them all up and stuff them in different paddocks and divide up whose sheep is whose or whose reindeer is whose. Very, very common in, as far as I know, Africa and Arctic regions, as well as like historically being very imperative in a lot of cultures globally.
Yeah, that is also an excellent definition. You guys really know what you're talking about.
Sometimes.
We've taught a college class that we designed.
Oh, nice. Well, now we're giving you, dear listener, a little bit of that education. Yeah, but no, you're exactly right, Rachel. It is a lifestyle of, living really with your livestock and in a uniquely harmonious way with both your community and the wildlife and the landscape. It's actually, you mentioned that it's particularly popular or particularly prevalent in like the Arctic regions and in Africa, but it's actually, pastoral lifestyles accommodate between 200 and 500 million people globally. There are pastoralists on every continent. So obviously, like, we're most familiar with like cattle ranchers in the USA, okay, and in Canada, the Great Plains. But this could also look like, Samburu and Maasai cattle farmers in Kenya. It could also look like people raising yak in the alpine meadows of the Tibetan Plateau. It could also look like people raising llamas and alpacas in the Andes, or you mentioned reindeer in places like Siberia, Finland, Alaska. There's a lot of different ways this can look.
Yeah. Well, I first encountered it when I worked for U.S. Geological Survey up in Alaska because we were finding reindeer antler sheds. And I was like, oh, cool, a wild reindeer. And like I had to learn, like, well, it's more likely just from the herds of reindeer that people keep. And I was like, what do you mean? They're just like loose out there. That doesn't make any sense. And it's like, a foreign concept to a Kansan that you can just communally throw all your cattle out together and let them roam the Great Plains.
Yeah.
What a cool thing that would be.
Wouldn't it be so cool? Oh my gosh, should we have a movement of pastoralism in the Great Plains?
Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but the rangelands are, it's important to note that these rangelands are historically maintained by these pastoralist cultures. Okay, so it's not just a utilization of the land, it's a stewardship situation happening, because it does, like Rachel said, mimic a lot of the natural patterns that these animals that we raise for our food and our food security, would take if they were still a wild population. And it contributes to food for hundreds of millions of people worldwide. The other thing that I wanted to mention that is just kind of a key element of a pastoral society, that's as the FAO defines it, would be mobility. So typically these you're going to see that these cultures, people who are living this lifestyle, are engaging in a spectrum of movement patterns. So some might be At one end of the spectrum, you've got sedentary pastoralists. So that would be like if you live near rich local pasture lands, you can have a more permanent homestead. Mm-hmm. You don't have to necessarily, wander with the animals as much. Mm-hmm. There's also something called transhumance, which would be seasonal migration. So, back in like our chamois.
Chamois.
Yeah, back in that episode, we talked about how, shepherds in the European Alps, you might move your sheep and goats up into the mountains in the summer and then back down to the valleys in the winter. That would be an example of transhumance. Or in places like in the Serengeti in Cameroon and Kenya, you might move cattle really long distances between wet and dry seasons to be able to make sure that you're maximizing the health of that population.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, it goes from there into semi-nomadic and fully nomadic lifestyles. We think about like the traditional pastoralism as practiced in a place like Mongolia would be truly like you're moving your homestead constantly with your animals. So, yeah, and it's all to sort of follow that natural pattern. So why does any of that matter?
See, it's a question every conservationist unfortunately has to answer.
Yes. Well, aside from it being, like we said, half of the land on the planet, it's human habitat we're talking about here, right? Mm-hmm. These rangelands, these grasslands are places where people live and thrive. And the pastoral cultures of today are really like one of our deepest ecological links to this land. It's a tradition of subsistence that extends way, way back to Neolithic cultures. Okay. We're talking like 10,000 years ago. There's an author from one of the studies that we'll be talking about in a minute here. His name is, was it Mikkel Sinderman? And he notes that cattle are one of the most important animals in human history. Where there are people, there are cattle. And so 5 years into this podcast about grassland conservation, I thought it would be finally time for us to talk about cows.
Whoa! Oh my gosh.
But the story of cattle is very long, and in fact, longer than recorded human history. So it is difficult to cram it all into 30, 40 minutes, which is why I'm only going to focus on one aspect of it today, which is where it starts. That's we're going to talk today about the animal with which pastoralism, rangeland management, and really grassland conservation all began, and that is the aurochs.
Oh, okay.
Can I say that I was in a gifted history class in middle school, and I did a paper.
Whoa. Gifted kid here. Okay.
Yeah, I did a paper on cattle taming in Mesopotamia.
Ooh.
Really specific. I don't know how I got there.
Cool.
But that really freaked me out that I remembered that just now, so I had to share.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm really nervous now. I have a highly caffeinated former gifted kid about to fact check everything I'm saying.
Absolutely not. I don't remember anything I said. That was a long time ago. I don't remember what I said in the last episode, much less however many years ago that was.
Oh, well, it'll be like revisiting that whole topic. You guys have heard of an aurochs before, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. So,
but has our listener?
Well, let's find out. So
leave a comment below.
What is an aurochs? And that word is spelled AUROCHS. Okay, but it's that is both the singular and the plural of the word. Sometimes they use a more like archaic version called aurochsen. Like we would say oxen and ox today. But yeah, there's not an X it says CHS for some reason.
Wait, that's really cool. Sorry, Theo and I are listening to a podcast right now that's about Proto-Indo-European languages, and I'm like seeing like, oh, that's like the evolution of where the oxen came from. Like I can see the simplification history of that. Never mind.
Yeah, no, it's
language is fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the word UR is apparently like the word for wild ox.
Wow.
And in like in very early languages, like there's like the Nordic rune is like that is what that refers to, is that animal.
Wow.
That's so cool. That's so nerdy. Aurochs. That's so freaking cool. Okay. Sorry.
Nice. Yeah.
Please. What is this?
the aurochs, scientific name, Bos primigenius.
Oh.
First of their line, primigenius. More language there. Is the common ancestor to all of our domestic cattle. They are a Pleistocene megafauna species. And we're not 100% sure where they or how old they are, because the fossil record it's difficult to be really specific about this. The oldest well-dated fossil we have dates back to 780,000 years before the present.
Whoa.
Okay.
780,000 years.
I'm trying to remember when Mesopotamia was. I can't even remember that.
Well, modern humans, Homo sapiens, right, date back 200,000 to 400,000-ish years, I think, is what anthropologists are kind of kicking around these days. So, that to give you an idea of the time scale there.
Yeah.
And more important context, since we're talking about geologic time here, grasslands really flourished, before these animals started showing up. So in the Pliocene, which would have been 5.5 to 2.5 million years ago, and the Pleistocene, which we often just call the Ice Age, or, colloquially call the Ice Age. It's actually a lot of different ice ages.
Yeah.
But that, which ran from 2.6 million years ago to about 12,000 years ago. So we're getting to like very recent history.
Yeah.
That's when you saw and we've talked about this in like our African savanna episode, but a big shift towards grasslands. They really started proliferating throughout the globe because we started having colder, drier, more temperate climates, less tropical, and higher seasonality in many places of the world, as well as those cycles of like glacial advance, glacial retreat, which wipes out everything that's there, forests and things like that. If a big, 80-foot tall sheet of ice plows through it, it's, that's going to be something else when that glacier retreats. And those C4 plants, I'm not going to quiz anybody on the difference between what
Rachel knows.
I'm ready.
Oh, I know you're ready. But
this is important. It has to do with carbon dioxide and temperature gradients.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah. If you have
no, keep going.
It's a tangent. Listen to our African savanna episode, though, if you want more information on what a C4 grass is, though. She does a really good job of explaining it. C4 plants, which are dominant in modern grasslands, really capitalized from that change, that climatic shift. Climatic shift, not climactic. That's
Why?
Like... What?
What's the difference? Oh, climactic is like altitude?
Yeah, like climax. Yeah, climatic is climate. I said the wrong word. Edit that out.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't know that. I think this is important for our viewers.
I think, I feel like colloquially they just are interchangeable. So
I know. Yeah. I often say the wrong thing. That's okay. As long as we understand each other.
Yes.
That's what's important.
That's language.
That's the point. Okay. Because, we no longer have the excessively wet, tropical, hot, climates. That's good for grasses, right? They need, dry periods and they can deal obviously with a lot of heat, but, deal with the cold also a lot better than a lot of those tropical plants. So massive herbivores also end up benefiting from the spread and the success of those grasslands. They adapted pretty rapidly to exploit that new, that food source in that period of time. And what that means is that these big herbivores of the Pleistocene were very, very successful, and the aurochs was no different. So the oldest fossils that I said were 780,000 years ago. Those were found in Tunisia.
Okay,
North Africa. We also have well-dated fossils from Europe, 650,000 years ago. We have fossils from East Asia, 200,000 years ago. And we even have fossils from the more Arctic regions up in Denmark, Sweden, getting way north after the end of the last glacial maximum, which would have been about 30 to 15,000 years ago. So that's a huge continental spread.
Yeah.
From central North Africa to the Asian steppe to East Asia to, India, the Indian subcontinent, way north. These things were all over the place.
Yeah. That's wild. I honestly didn't know that. I've really only encountered people talking about aurochs in the context of Europe and England, Ireland, those areas.
Yeah, no, they have a pretty widespread distribution. And that is, that helped contribute to a lot of the modern day diversity of cattle genetics, because they were such a large and diverse species.
Cool.
So aurochs, as one of the largest and most abundant mammals, and across its highly fertile temperate range, were a keystone species at the time. So they were essential in maintaining those grasslands, those mixed forests that were really spreading throughout, to cover 50% of our globe, and maintaining them through lots of grazing pressure and movement.
What's the relationship between aurochs and bison?
So they are closely related. So that genus Bos, B-O-S, it contains both. It contains all cattle. That includes wild cattle and bison. So they are very closely related. I don't remember exactly when they would have diverged, but they're considered bison are almost considered like a sub-genus of that Bos. They're kind of but they're very closely related. Very closely related. Cool. Not only in their ecological niche, but just genetically, they had a fairly recent common ancestor.
Cool. I was mainly wondering, did an aurochs group cross the Bering Land Bridge and diverge into bison at one point, or what that looks like? But that's just curiosity speaking.
Yeah, no, I think there was. I mean, I think there would have been interaction between the species, and I don't know the extent of that interaction, but they would have been what's the word? Sympatric. Or they would have occupied the same region at some point. I mean, it's a very long history we're talking about.
Especially the European bison.
Oh, yeah.
There is your European bison.
And the steppe bison.
And the steppe bison, yes. There are I think 4 other species total in genus Bos, in addition to bison and wild cattle and aurochs. So that would include the banteng, the gael, the gaur.
Are you pronouncing these correctly?
Maybe. The gaur is also called the Indian bison, and wild yak, which, if you were to look at pictures of them all together, you would say, that's a cow, that's a cow, that's a cow, and a yak is a cow with a skirt.
Fair.
So, I mean, they look, yes. Okay. But they occupy a similar niche that are the extant American bison occupied on the Great Plains.
This is a great episode. I'm having a great time.
Okay, so what did it look like? That is that's a fun thing to get into, because it's a little kind of scary to think about.
They're alarming.
Yeah. So an aurochs would have been it's not it's not the same size as a cow, right? This is a Pleistocene megafauna we're talking about. They would have stood 6 feet tall at the shoulder. So that is much closer to the hump of a bison height-wise. Okay, so big cow. They were very long-legged, so they would have stood a little taller as well than bison do. And their weight was pretty variable, but the rough average would be in the range of 2,000 to 2,200 pounds, with some individuals estimated over 3,000. That's a lot larger than a bison.
Yeah.
So comparable in height to plains buffalo, but quite a bit heavier, throwing around a lot more weight. Males and females also sported forward-pointing, upwardly curved horns, kind of like that.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I'm glad we have that on video. So.
Yeah. They're shaped like a tilde, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. From the side. The bowls were likely black with a white stripe down the spine, and cows would have been a reddish-brown chestnut color.
How do we know that?
Great question. We'll get to it in a second.
Paintings? I bet it's from paintings. Wait, I bet we have fucking mummies. Sorry.
Lots of options.
Okay.
How do we know what dinosaurs' colors were?
Because we have their fossils pigments preserved in their feathers. I don't think we do have fossil. Sorry, go ahead.
In terms of overall appearance, so they're larger, stronger, fiercer ancestor of our modern cattle.
How do we know their disposition?
That is a great question, Rachel. We can characterize this animal's behavior because this is an animal that persisted beyond the Pleistocene and well into the Holocene.
Ooh, that's the human part.
That's the human part. That's 12,000 years ago to the present. So we have actual historical records of aurochs' demeanor. There's anecdotal evidence of them defending themselves aggressively from threats, holding their territory, much like you'd think a bull bison might in the U.S. We also have fossil evidence from forests in Poland that males would fight viciously during the rut, sometimes mortally wounding one another with those massive horns.
Nice.
Yeah. These animals made a considerable impression on people. Okay. Aurochs, you asked, how do we know their color? Aurochs have appeared in many works of art throughout human history.
I knew it was paintings.
From depictions in medieval tapestries to Turkish bucrania, which would be the term for ox heads, depictions of ox heads in classical architecture, to all the way back to the Paleolithic cave paintings at the famous site of Lascaux, France, which is estimated to be 22,000 years old.
Nice.
The power, the fury, and, of course, the perceived virility of these animals have drawn the admiration of many cultures the world over.
Good for them.
And by the way, yeah, it's called the Hull of Bowls is a section of the Lascaux caves where aurochs are painted with their accurate coloration even at that point. So the bulls are black, the cows are red, and there's one bull in particular. There's 36 animals represented in the cave, but there is one image of a 17-foot long bull. That's not how big it was in reality.
Are you sure?
Well, you know, but no, that shows the particular interest or reverence even that these Paleolithic cultures had for this animal.
That's wild.
So
That's
cool.
a huge cave painting. I feel like there's not that many that are like that.
Yeah.
To that scale, like
Yeah.
of one individual subject.
Yeah, it's the largest animal depicted in any cave painting anywhere. So that we found. So now, of course, how did they end up being domesticated? If they're okay, so we're talking about an enormous, ill-tempered mammal with two horns pointing at you that are the size of our piddly little arms. Okay, like 31-inch long horns.
Sounds like a challenge.
You know, I guess. You know, I mean, these are the same humans who, would have looked at wolves 15,000 years ago and been like, yes, Yes, they will be our friends.
Yes.
Good boy.
Humans were just built differently back then, I guess.
For sure.
Nicole, you talked about how you did a deep dive as a gifted student into but the information has changed a little bit probably since that report. Sure. There's really not considered to be one single domestication event. But a study of that looks at the DNA sampled from both modern cattle and a number of aurochs fossils suggests that by looking at the differences in the mutations and things like that, about 11,000 years ago in Southwest Asia is where you would have had the first attempted captures of individuals. Okay. And then around 8,000 years ago in India as well would be a big one.
Wow.
And the way they know this is by, when they're sampling this DNA, they look for like where they suddenly have like a sort of a coalescence of the matrilineal DNA, right? And where they're seeing like suddenly a big contraction in the number of maternal ancestors. Okay. So it's like, because they're really coming, you're creating a massive population from relatively few captured animals.
Yeah. That's fun.
It is cool.
Is this as hotly debated as like dog domestication? Because I went on a rabbit hole in that one with the filthy animals episode.
I think everything in paleontology is hotly debated, and yes. So I'm gonna avoid from being very like, this
Definitely.
is what happened,
because
I don't want people coming at me like that. I would love to hear more about it if you are someone who studies this, or this is just your particular special interest. Would love to hear more about it. I'm not going to fight you on it though.
Fair.
But yeah, so that those smaller number of maternal ancestors, it gives us a good indication of when humans started experimenting with, again, this is the Stone Age, so this would have been a pretty challenging and definitely dangerous task of experimenting with animal husbandry at this time. Right? This is a big, mean animal, and there's not. If this thing kicks you over a hill, it's just like, that's it. Anyway.
Why would you stand on a hill right behind one? That sounds like a skill issue.
Well, you got to learn somehow.
You got to learn. This is,
Keep your hand on the rump so they know where you are,
The first rancher in the Paleolithic going, oh, that guy was an idiot. I would never stand behind him on that hill.
Soft hands. All right.
God.
Okay. According to Benjamin Arbuckle, an archaeologist and anthropology professor at North Carolina, Chapel Hill, there are numerous remains of aurochs that are found in Neolithic farming communities, but something interesting happens around 8,000 years ago. They start getting smaller.
Oh, no.
The remains themselves.
Wait, like in quantity? No, you mean
in
stature.
Size.
Okay.
Yeah, in size.
That's what I
thought. The changing size and also changing features, such as their horn shapes, begin to vary a lot more. And that suggests that is when humans started experimenting with selectively breeding the captive animals, as opposed to just hunting from the wild. So yeah, the author of that 2024 study, Mikkel Sinding, states that aurochs are as much like modern cattle as wolves are like poodles.
Nice.
So yes, they've changed quite a bit from their original species.
I see.
So what ended up happening to this species? Well, the domestication itself, that leads to a lot of increased interbreeding then with the newly domesticated cattle herds. The domestication itself, along with the increased interbreeding, because you have all these newly domesticated cattle now, through the early days of cattle herding, would have certainly sort of impacted and influenced the wild genetics a little bit. You would have also had wild males sort of being incepted into these herds sometimes. And that really started to facilitate that adaptation to more domestic existence. I think of it, they kind of got like beefaloed a little bit, you know what I mean?
I was thinking the same thing.
They were starting to, because when European cattle were imported here in the 1600s, they, there was crossbreeding there as well, and yeah, so like the true, like the wild type of bison is kind of, it doesn't exist quite in the same, just genetically speaking, doesn't exist in quite the same way that it used to. Just because there is so much introgression, so much overlap. And then that, of course, you also have a decrease in open habitats. You have a lot of hunting. You have human settlements expanding. You have herds of human cattle expanding as well. And that sort of starts to push on aurochs and where they normally go, and sort of started pushing them into more open forest habitats and marginal habitat, before eventually they just kind of went extinct. And not that long ago. In the Yaktaru forest in Poland, that's where the last observed wild individual of this species lived. Its extinction was notched in 1627.
Wow.
That is not very long ago, especially since we're talking about, again, geologic time here. So, yeah. But
that's crazy.
That is, right? That's so recent.
And it's crazy that like an animal that successful would get pushed out and pushed to extinction like that.
Yeah. And it really is, it's really a human mediated thing though. It's like, because they were just completely domesticated. So it's like, yes, they went extinct, but also kind of not, because modern cattle are aurochs, but they're not, but they are. So it's it's a weird way to go as a species.
Species survived, but at what cost?
Yes, right. There you go.
Yeah.
But this is really like the story of that species, in the story of modern humans. Like it's really one and the same. Okay, so the author of that study, in an interview with Atlas Obscura, talked about how Homo heidelbergensis, which is a human ancestor, showed up in Europe around the same time as aurochs fossils, suggesting they may have actually just followed the cows to a new continent because they were living so closely alongside them. That's how deep our connection to this animal is. I mean, everywhere there are people, there are cows. Today, they account for a massive 1/3 of mammal biomass. There's 1.3 billion cattle in the world. So in that, aurochs are still doing fine in that regard. But of course, that is where this long history of pastoralism began. They continue to support a lifestyle and a social system that is still providing the livelihood of millions of people.
That's so cool.
Isn't that neat?
It's wild.
It's giving cancer dog.
Yeah, it's still out there.
Yeah, in some form, just making it. Really making it.
Right.
Yeah.
Life finds a way.
Indeed.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Now, if I can just hop back on the soapbox for 1 second.
Yeah, soapbox.
Okay. So obviously, we have a year dedicated to pastoralists and rangelands because these people do need better protections in order to sustain their lifestyles, in order to sustain their economies. And that's what the FAO is really trying to achieve with this whole initiative, is just spotlighting it. So some of the goals that the Food and Agriculture Organization is working towards for 2026 would be to working to build a greater political will to introduce more sustainable, equitable, and inclusive, I know these are like dirty words to some people, policies to support pastoralist economies. Because, it's, when we take a very traditional and rigid view of like, land, demarcations of land and property, pastoralist societies kind of need to, be a little more fluid with that. Okay? They need a lot of room to grow and thrive. So trying to revitalize those rangeland ecosystems that way. Just last month, the director of the IUCN, so those are the people who do the red list, critically endangered species. They went and they spoke with an ambassador from Mongolia to the parliament in the UK about all of this, along with many, many representatives the world over, to try and address some of the needs of these communities worldwide. It is really just kind of a beautiful thing. It's a very old tradition, and it is harmonious in many ways with the way that, it's really living alongside wildlife.
And the original working lands, which is why grasslands exist and why they thrive and why humans exist. And I mean, you're talking about like, we need to save this like cultural artifact in these communities and the practice itself. And as grasslands PR people,
yes,
like that is the way that grasslands survive. They are stewards of grasslands. That is the reason grasslands persist, and the reasons why grasslands existed in the first place and continued to persist. In a lot of cases, and so it's not just a small issue. It's so freaking huge, and it's so much bigger than like, hey, we need to get these families to be able to like make ends meet and have the resources that they need, because that's important, but it's so much bigger than that too. Like it's paramount that gets protected.
Yeah, I really could not have said it better myself. That's why you guys teach a college class. So you're exactly right, Rachel. And when we're talking about raising cattle and I have in the past on this podcast, I believe, expressed a certain a beef, if you will, with cattle production, just because it is such a massive land use. But there's a right and a wrong way to do everything. There's a sustainable way, and there are people who are out there who are, working in that industry to try and do things the best and most sustainable and more harmonious way that they can. And then there's, other entities that are making that a lot more difficult. And so we just got to find, a better balance, I think, is what it's all about. And, if you're interested in more information on this, there's a ton of educational resources from the FAO about all of this stuff and about all of these cultures and all these people. And we'll post that on the Substack. And so you guys can go take a look at that. But yes, what you have something to say, Rachel?
Can you remind me what FAO stands for? I forgot.
The Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. That's all. Every time you say it, I was just thinking FAFO. So I could not connect it with an entity that existed.
No. Yeah. Fair enough. But go look at that on the Substack, and and think about cows for a while. Cows are neat.
Legitimately, some of the nicest prairie I've ever been in was rangeland. Like it had cattle actively on it. Sometimes getting in the way.
But I mean, they fill the ecological niche here on the plains. At least they can. That our bison which are ecologically extinct for the most part. They're cattle should be on healthy prairies.
It's cool. Should we wrap it up by like telling our favorite cow story?
Do you have a favorite cow story?
Yes.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. One time I was doing a bird survey in Chase County, and I was listening very intently to all the birds around me, and I started noticing that there were flies on my clipboard, and I was getting kind of annoyed with them, and I was like swatting them away and like whatever. And then toward the end of my count, and I was like, okay, it's time to move on. All right, got all my stuff. I heard a sound behind me, and there was a queue forming behind me of cows, and one of them was so close to me that it was the one attracting the flies all over me, and I was so startled that a queue of cows, just curious cows watching over my shoulder while I counted birds, had snuck up on me, that I was very disturbed, and we all got spooked by that.
Yeah. They're surprisingly agile. It's kind of impressive. One of my favorite subreddits is Moomies, like Zoomies, but for cows.
Oh no, that's
It's real good.
Oh,
It's
nice.
good stuff, gotta say.
Nice.
Yeah, my favorite cow story. One of my favorite cow stories. I have a lot of cow stories. I was in the Azores, and I was walking around at night with my family, including my little cousin who's scared to walk around at night. So I made him walk around at night with me because I really wanted to go see. Oh no, what are those birds?
Frigate birds? No.
Oh no, I can't remember what they are. There's on the island that we were at is like the largest nesting colony of these birds that are really cool, and I can't remember their name. And I wanted to go see them because they're like they're still like active at night, like they make a lot of noise and they're just cute. Anyways, so we go out and we go look for the birds, and we had a flashlight, and we're heard noise behind us, and like this fence that's like a foot tall. It was not effective. But we've like shined the flashlight over this field, and there's just a cow like 5 feet away, and like its eyes shined, and it was terrifying. And then he ran away screaming. So my cousin did. So
Your cousin or the cow? Your cousin.
so I don't think he enjoyed that night walk.
That's fair.
But I enjoyed it.
Why are they always sneaking up on us?
Yeah, why is unexpected
really impressive.
cow such a common experience?
I don't know. Alan, do you have a favorite cow story? Or
I don't think I do. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
I'll tell another one then, just
Great.
to fill your space.
Thanks.
One time I was like, hey, why is there a random fence inside this fence, boss lady? And she was like, oh, it's a cow exclusion fence. And then later that summer I walked by and there was a cow inside. It was only big enough for one cow, but the cow was inside the cow exclusion fence.
Nice.
And it was having a queue forming behind it of other cows trying to get inside.
Nice.
Well, yeah. Why
Because they like to follow each other around, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Stick
always
together.
a queue.
Yeah. It's been a very successful strategy for survival.
Yeah.
Sticking together. I saw I guess I never really thought about it, but yeah, I mean, you do come into contact with a lot of cows in random places when you're doing wildlife work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you come into contact with cows but just never been entertained
Appreciated
or
them.
admired?
Well, I've always been doing something else, and it's but it's like you'll be trying to do whatever your work you're doing, and then there'll be like a calf who's like standing here, and then their mom is somehow on the other side of a fence, and the mom is like, how did you get there? And they're just like having
each
some
other.
kind of cow conversation, just like staring at each other, and you're just like, man, I gotta get this done.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've never stopped to appreciate all the cows around you, Alan.
I guess that's my bias as a wildlife biologist, but that's why I had so much fun with this episode. 'Cause it's like,
you got caught up.
yeah, it's like cows, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can I tell one more cow spooking story?
yes.
Okay. I was on the stream team surveying streams for fishes, not thinking about cows. We're in a stream. It was a wooded area, and a calf ran across the stream in front of us, and we just kind of watched it go. And then we were like, oh no, all of the electric fences are down because we're in the water, and we asked them to put them down. Do they know that calf is here? Because I don't think it's supposed to be here. I don't know what happened. We never saw any other cows. It was just that one calf. It was very scared of us.
So you scooped him, brought him back.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
buddy.
was, I say calf, it was decent size. But we did tell the landowner, so
Yeah.
I'm sure
Lovely.
we made it back.
Good. one time.
Uh-huh.
The upland sandpiper nest that I was going to check on.
Mm-hmm.
The bird flushed off of it, mother flushed off of it. And I was like, I can't find it, the nest though. Where did it go? And a cow had shat on it and covered most of the eggs.
Yeah.
I believe she still hatched one.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's good insulation, I guess. Maybe a little too much insulation.
Yeah.
You know?
Dang.
Yeah.
Good times.
Good times, guys.
Good times.
Shall we?
Let's wrap it up. Let's get out of here.
Man, cows. Cows are good.
Okay, here's a phone.
Thank you, Allan. That was very fun. We had a great time.
Okay. Ooh.
One
Nicole,
time, Mark.
What?
Your stepdad?
And he was petting a cow, and like letting it slurp his hand. It was a lot. And then he lost his wedding ring. And he thought the cow ate it. And he was terrified of telling my mother. We walked around this cow field for like an hour looking for that ring. And we did eventually find it. But I was like, that cow that ring. There's no way we're getting this back.
Well,
But we
you can get it back. You just have to follow the cow for a couple days.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
fine.
god. It was really funny though.
Wait, did you find the ring in the pasture?
Yeah. It was just on the ground.
Nice.
That's wild that you found it.
Yeah.
that is actually
extremely
kind of
lucky.
impressive.
I can't
Yeah.
believe you found it. That's crazy.
Yeah. I lost a phone in a cow pasture once.
Oh, Allan only has. Oh, my favorite Allan cow story is you following cow patties to find your bird blinds.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we
on the
did.
lek tracks.
Yeah. I called it a fecal navigation system. Yeah.
Yeah. That,
It's very good.
so funny.
Yeah.
You're so funny. Fecal navigation system.
Yeah, it's important. Okay, let's wrap this up. Thank you for listening. The Best Biome is produced through our nonprofit, Grassland Groupies, dedicated to inspiring the conservation of grasslands. In the Substack, you will find our website, our phone number, our social media accounts. Let us know if you have any suggestions, or if you just want to talk to us. We like fan mail and hate mail. If you enjoyed the show and want to support us, tell your friends about us and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. We couldn't do this without your support. And we'll see you again in a few months.
We have merch, by the way.
Ooh.
We forget to tell you guys that stuff, but we do have merch of the podcast. We have like shirts and stuff if you want to get the Best Biome on a shirt or something.
Amazing. All right, thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye. Aurochs. Aurochs. How would you have pronounced that in Proto-Indo-European?
I have no idea.